The reason why corrupt government insists that you use proper channels is because they control proper channels, and they are confident that whatever corruption you are trying to expose will never see the light of day, and neither will you. Coming up, DA's Justice spokesperson Glynnis Breytenbach has criticized General Mkhwanazi's press briefing. You remember that one? The explosive one? Yeah. The July 6th one? That one. Now, listen to what Breytenbach is saying. Breytenbach is saying Mkhwanazi should have used formal channels, formal channels like Portfolio Committee to raise his serious allegations of corruption and interference in the police service. Formal channels, right? As I've been telling you guys that when corrupt government insist that you should have used proper channels and formal channels is because they control proper channels. Those channels are controlled by them, and they are confident that whatever corruption you are trying to expose, it's not gonna see the light of day. Listen to this.
Glynnis, when I watched the press conference, I was pretty shocked to see Mkhwanazi standing there with, police for masks, guns, and it was a little bit scary for me living in a democracy to see something like that. What was your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was inappropriate. He has many avenues. He can access almost anybody. If he had these issues, he had many other avenues to use to air these views of his. I think it was probably not necessary to do it in a press conference, although he's quite entitled to do so, and if he had something to say, he's free to say it. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the Portfolio Committee on Police, at once a month, why didn't he tell them about it? So that was the appropriate space to raise it. To come to a press conference in full combat gear, with people in full combat gear with automatic weapons and wearing masks, I mean, that just, looks like a coup loading, and that's what it looked like to me. And I think it was sending a message and a warning. I don't think that it was, they were out for a Sunday stroll dressed like that, and then they decided to have a press conference. So that was planned. And
maybe a jog, not a stroll.
I think it was, some of them look like they can only stroll. I think it was a little inappropriate and a little concerning that somebody with that kind of clout, that kind of access, that kind of rank, a very senior rank, chose that method, almost of taking the law into his own hands. Of course, if he has these things to say and what he says is true, and I don't know if it is or isn't, that's what we now must determine. And I think, as Ian says, it's dangerous to form a view up front, and one shouldn't. So you need to interrogate what he said and more. But I do think that it's surprising that he chose that particular method. And there's clearly a reason for it, and we'll have to determine what it was.
Clearly, guys, Breytenbach is just talking from the position of ignorance here. Because guess what? General Mkhwanazi has used those formal channels, including the Portfolio Committee channel that Breytenbach is talking about. But what did the parliament do about those explosive allegations? Nothing. On the same Portfolio Committee, Mkhwanazi dropped same explosive allegations that he dropped on that media briefing. But what did Parliament do about that? Nothing. Then Mkhwanazi decided and said, look, I am going public. The moment he went public, then that's when the Breytenbach and the rest of the guys, ANC, they started having chest pains. Now, let me show you some of the proper channels that Mkhwanazi has followed. In fact, let me just start with the very same one. Let me just play you guys the very same one that Breytenbach mentioned the portfolio committee. Listen to this.
In 2024, on the 29th of October, to be precise, I received a phone call, Chair, a phone call and a message that came from a gentleman who said to me he's a close associate of the Minister of Police, and that is Mr. Brown. He referred to himself as Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi. This Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi, who had described himself as a close associate to the Minister of Police, indicated to me, which made me believe that he's a close associate of the Minister of Police, because he said to me he was joining the Minister of Police to visit the Lusikisiki massacre that had happened last year. And because I did not trust him, I called the Chief of Staff to try and establish who is this gentleman. And the Chief of Staff did confirm to me that indeed he is a very person close to the Minister of Police. But what surprised me about this gentleman is that he then indicated to me on a message that he sent me when he said there's an internal attempt to discredit me through the defeating the end of justice case. And as we engage, and I asked him, what is he talking about? He then he sent me a report that was written by the member who, well, not signed, but a report that was written by a Lieutenant Colonel Matthews, who was working under Operational Valomgodi, who was an operational command at the time. And unfortunately, the report that he sent to me, a letter which I have here before me, was not signed, Honorable Chair members. He sent me this report, and subsequent to that, he then forwarded the copies of the OP entries that were made at Impangeni police station, where there were indications that I personally stopped the arrest of one senior officer from the correctional service. So that's how the whole thing started. So when he sent me these things, subsequent to that, Chair, before I could even respond to that, the next thing that he had asked me was whether, how well do I know the Divisional Commission of Crime Intelligence? Because it indicates that the Divisional Commission of Crime Intelligence had made a presentation of which he attached a copy of the screen, a presentation the Crime Intelligence was making, which obviously is either he was part of the presentation where Crime Intelligence were presenting the divisional policies, which is dated 2024-2025 on the screen. That's how it was highlighted here. The presentation was made on the 30th of September 2024. He gave me that screenshot. If he was not part of that meeting, surely someone who was at that meeting was feeding him with this information. So he sent me the screenshot and he says to me, Gerald Khumalo, the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence, I must check my standing with him. And because he said yesterday he pushed a negative narrative about me on how the cash in transits are happening in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and the fact that I don't want to listen to the advices of crime intelligence when they're giving me early warnings and so forth. And he cited a retired Major General Chika to be amongst the people that were unhappy about my response into their warnings about crime intelligence. So that's a communication that he brought to me. And when I asked him about more details about this thing, where did he get this, and what is General Khumalo specifically saying about me, other than what he's presenting to me? Whether is the leadership aware about what General Khumalo has been saying about me? So he says his response was, and I quote, "The minister is briefed. He has just arrived at Lusikisiki." So that's why I phoned the Chief of Staff to try and establish, because this person looks like he's very close to the Minister of Police, and he was traveling with him to Lusikisiki. And I guess the investigation is going to reveal whether did he really travel with him to Lusikisiki. And I guess with the investigation, Chair, we'll be able to establish the communication between this gentleman and the Minister of Police, if it's true or not, as is alleged to be in contact with the Minister of Police. Honorable Chair, in 2011, I was appointed as the acting National Commissioner. At the time, there was a matter of Jerome Bluli that was in the media. And as I said, crime intelligence was too much in the media at the time. There was a case of corruption against Jerome Bluli at the time, which was referred to the NPA, was in court. But there was no departmental matter initiated. So I initiated the departmental investigation in that regard. And General Mkhwanazi was already on suspension when I was appointed acting. And after that, I then told Jarastanda, as I said, to make sure, who was a deputy national commissioner at the time, to make sure that departmental investigation is conducted against General Mkhwanazi, and also the person who was a direct responsible person for crime intelligence, and that was Lieutenant General Libya, who's now the head of Hawks, to make sure that they facilitate the investigation in terms of disciplinary procedure on determining whether there's anything wrong in terms of our disciplinary code. Subsequent to that, Chair, the disciplinary report was ready to subject the matter for the disciplinary hearing. We then received a report from the National Director of Public Prosecution informing us that we must not withdraw the case of General Mkhwanazi is withdrawn because the South African Police Service and the courts of the Republic had no jurisdiction to investigate the corruption matter of the Secret Service account. That was the responsibility of the Inspector General of Intelligence. So in order to test that, we then took the criminal case docket as well as the departmental case docket. We sent it to the Inspector General of Intelligence. And I know, Honorable Chair, is that perhaps that might have been one case that might have motivated or demotivated the Honorable Advocate Kona Barnard, because she was the one who was dealing with the case. And after the case was withdrawn, she left the NPA and she went to Parliament. We then, Chair, submitted these two documents to the Inspector General of Intelligence. The Inspector General of Intelligence responded to us on a departmental matter, because there were two officials involved, was General Mkhwanazi and Lazarus. She responded to us, and that was Advocate Khadev, the late. She then said, there's no case against Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, departmental, but there is a case against General Lazarus, so we must proceed with General Lazarus. But then I said to her, I'm not going to implement that recommendation until she responds to me about the outcome or the comment that the NPA has taken, or decision the NPA has taken on the withdrawal of the case against General Mkhwanazi. I wanted to be clear about that. Almost a week later, Honorable Chair, the NPA, the Inspector General of Intelligence called me and said I must bring back the letter that recommended that Mkhwanazi should not be charged departmental. I must bring it back because they've studied the case docket and they've realized that the NPA has erred in taking a decision that the police and the courts don't have jurisdiction in criminal matters. And then I decided that I beg your pardon. I said Advocate Breytenbach. I think I used the wrong name. Advocate Breytenbach, who was dealing with the case that is now working in Parliament. When the Inspector General of Intelligence gave us a letter that says the case docket must go back to court, which meant that the departmental matter must proceed, we sent the docket back to court. I personally called the acting National Director of Public Prosecution at the time, and she referred me to the advocate who initially took a decision, and that advocate was Advocate Mkhwanazi. And Advocate Mkhwanazi still wrote back to us, telling us that he has taken a decision to withdraw the case of Mkhwanazi, therefore the matter is closed. So that's how that case stopped, because of that decision. Despite the fact that Inspector General of Intelligence had already said that the NPA was wrong. Subsequent to that, Honorable Chair, we continued with the departmental matter as we were authorized to proceed. Subsequent to that, as I was driving home to KZN, I received a call from the same Advocate Khadev, who was the Inspector General, telling me that she has compromised her career. The recommendation that she gave me to prosecute Mkhwanazi was wrong. I must bring that letter back. I refused. The next thing, I got a call from the Minister of Police at the time, who was Mr. Mteto, to his house, where he instructed me that I must not charge Mkhwanazi, and because Inspector General of Intelligence have decided that I should not charge Mkhwanazi. And the Inspector General of Intelligence was present in that house. And she said, I gave an instruction of what to write. I disputed that, and I said it's a lie. But nonetheless, I told her that until I have something black and white that you are saying to me, I must not charge her on Gulu, I will continue with the case. Well, of course, criminal, we can't do anything because the NPA had taken a decision, but departmental, we shall continue. And the Inspector General of Intelligence then invited me to her house where she brought back the letter initially that she had withdrawn that said, Mkhwanazi is clean, he cannot be charged. And she brought the letter which she had filed and she gave it to me again that said, no, Mkhwanazi is clean. So as a result, the case must be withdrawn. Honorable Chair, what transpired after that, it's recorded. The advocate Breytenbach, General Libya, General Massimola himself, General Kumalo, who's now DPCI, myself, and many other police officers started facing difficulty after that. Especially, I can talk about those in the police. It is on history how General Libya was removed from the SAPS under the leadership of the National Commissioner at the time, General Pierre. We know how the paging and everything that was done. Myself, Honorable Chair, from the arrival of General Pierre as the head of the SAPS, I sat at home. She did not allocate many posts. She was happy to have me sitting at home for more than 12 months, not doing anything. And it didn't bother me. I feel, Chair, I had done enough. I've gone through some difficult trainings in my life that taught me how to endure. So I just sat there and I told them until they want to make use of me, I'll be available at home. It was no surprise, Honorable Chair and members, when I heard from the media asking me about the letter to withdraw the political task team. I just laughed it off because Section 207 gave me a mandate and responsibility to do policing in this province. Now, if there's an instruction that is going to interfere with operations of the South African Police Service, for me, it will be perceived as a defeating edge of justice. So therefore, I'll need to put very close attention on that. And because I wondered what would have informed. I phoned the National Commissioner was on leave at the time when the letter was written, allegedly, and he didn't know anything about it. But there was an instruction, and assumingly now we heard today that it was a directive because I had not received it as a provincial commissioner. When the provincial management had asked me about it, the provincial leadership executive, I told them that the political team is pretty much active and they're working, they're doing their work. And any other person who gave me instruction otherwise can do only the National Commissioner and nobody else but the National Commissioner of South African Police Service because he's my boss. If he tells me I must change his policing tactics into something else, I shall do so as a disciplined police officer. But we've been working, Chair, and this task team have gone beyond the borders of KwaZulu-Natal, have gone to the Gauteng province. There's a case that they are assisting investigating in Gauteng, the case that involves very senior police officers who some of them might be in this platform that you are in right now. And that is part of what is causing the chaos in the South African Police Service. So, Honorable Chair, I'm going to leave it there. And that is basically why I was then making a reference on what is transpiring now to that what happened in 2011, where bad police officers are using politicians to try and get their ways around. So that is my submission, Chair. Thanks so much.
Yep, that was Mkhwanazi, guys, in Parliament, following protocols. That was on the 5th of March this year. And guess what? After these explosive allegations in Parliament, the Parliament didn't do anything. And guess what happened? Then Mkhwanazi was followed by assassination attempts. Then, thank God, he survived. That was after he released these explosive allegations in Parliament. Thank God he survived those assassination attempts. So that's what ANC does to you when you follow protocols, when you follow formal channels that Breytenbach is talking about right now. They make sure that whatever you are trying to expose, whatever corruption you are trying to expose, it's not going to see the light of day. And they make sure that neither will you. They make sure that you also die with those corruption allegations you have. I mean, look at the whistleblowers. whole lot of them. Those are people who followed protocols. Where are they now? They are sleeping in their graves. They tried the same thing with Mkhwanazi, but thank God, he was way ahead because he knew that this was coming. Now, what shocks me again, guys, here especially about Breytenbach in particular, is that Breytenbach, this lady here, guys, is a DA lady, ne? But Breytenbach is a former prosecutor, ne? She was working for NPA. So the Mdluli corrupt case was her case, okay? So she wanted to prosecute Mdluli and arrest Mdluli. It was Breytenbach and General Mkhwanazi. Both of them wanted to arrest and to prosecute and arrest General Mdluli. But of course, the president, the Cyril Ramaphosa, and Rapieha, you remember Rapieha? And Rapieha defended. I remember, I think she was a minister, at that time. Rapieha made sure that she defended Mdluli, and Mdluli must never be prosecuted. Then Breytenbach just was so angry. She was just so angry, and she went to Parliament, and of course joining DA. And guess what happened to General Mkhwanazi? Rapieha made sure that she dismissed Mkhwanazi for a 1-year paid leave. Mkhwanazi just told us now he just went to stay home for about a year without operating, making sure that he stays away from the Mdluli case and prosecution. Mdluli must never be prosecuted. People who wanted to prosecute Mdluli, it was Breytenbach and General Mkhwanazi. But today, Breytenbach, because she is in a DA now, she's turning against General Mkhwanazi. Wow. Let's listen to Mkhwanazi here also, guys.
Been in the organization, I'm sure you'll recall what happened back in 2011. I had the entire state security, entire crime intelligence deployed on me. Because we were seen as a threat to the national security, simply because there was a file on our desk about a very senior politician. And as a result, they deployed all the state resources to counter that. And I mean, that's why I was sitting at home for a year, not working. So that was no surprise. South Africans have forgotten that. Yeah. I sit at home without doing anything, simply because I dealt with the rogue animals in the organization, which then irritated some politicians. And I'm happy to say today, some of the rogue animals we're dealing with in the police are not in the service anymore. Some of them, senior people, are sitting in prison that we're dealing with back then in 2011. But when we're doing that, we were outcast. We were the bad ones, simply because we touched the wrong people. So we did not surrender then. We're not going to surrender now. So it's either we're on paper, we do it on paper, we find each other in court. You counter with whatever you counter. I'm not going to play in the media thing, so they can write whatever they like. Yeah. I've been there. I've for so many years. I've been bruised. So this doesn't scare me, and I'm not going to waste my breath in dealing with people that are faceless. But for those that are within the system that are doing things wrong, we're going to challenge them legally and deal with them. But if they want to come physical, we'll find each other on the field. That's just about what it is.
So Glynnis Breytenbach has joined the anti-Mkhwanazi team, which is Paul O'Sullivan, Mary De Haas, Senzo Mchunu, Firoz Kachalia, our current Minister of Police. They all sing from the same hymn book that General Mkhwanazi should have followed protocols. And the reason why the corrupt government insists that you follow the protocol is because they control protocols. And they are confident that whatever corruption you are trying to expose, it's not going to see the light of day. And neither will you. What do you think? Let me hear your comment below. And of course, if you are coming for the first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.